Cloud. Okay, there we go.
Hi, everybody. This is Hair Bow Samantha.
And I'm sweet as could be, Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear right
Topany. Hey!
The reason I was winking about hair bow is because this bow is actually made out of synthetic hair. So I thought that was fun because I haven't done any fun hair stuff in quite a while during our lives. So today we are talking about a Korean movie that came out in, I think, 2008, 2009.
Yeah, 2008.
Called Antique. And I'm so happy that we watched this because this is something I had never watched before. And it was actually a really fun watch. So Mason, do you want to tell the people why we decided to watch this movie?
Yeah, so last week, before we recorded our Yuri on Ice video, we were like, ooh, what the fuck are we gonna watch next? Because there's just kind of not a lot happening with boys love that at least we're too invested in. There's a lot of like mid-tier boys loves happening. We're trying to look for something worthwhile. So we were thinking about GMMTV shows and how they put out this trailer last year for a Singto show where he's like a patissier. I was thinking, that's a great show. When's that coming out? Sam's like, I don't know, but we could always watch the movie it's based on. And I was like, sure. So we watched Antique.
Yes. And I'm so glad that we watched this because I rewatched the Baker Boys trailer with Singto in it. And I'm like, the same characters are here, but the beats feel totally different.
Right, because they play the twist, I guess, in a different way.
Yeah. So
which I guess we'll have to talk about once we get to that part narratively.
Right. So spoiler warnings, trigger warnings. We'll be talking about this movie, and there is a twist in the movie, so if you don't want to be spoiled about it, just letting you know now. But trigger warnings for child abuse, murder,
suicide, homophobia. We have a lot of trigger warnings for this episode. So
yeah, PTSD. You know, a lot. There's a lot going on here.
Blood.
Yeah, so just letting you know now. But do you want to give the people a synopsis, or do you think is it possible to give a synopsis here?
I can give a synopsis. I will say I retain no one's name, so I gave everyone. I'm just gonna call everyone by their character archetype. So the movie is about the manager of this bakery. It's called Antique Bakery, and he is basically like just some really rich kid who has like a very troubled past that he can't escape. And we don't know what it is. But he opens up this bakery and hopes to find a wife. Essentially, he hopes that it'll bring in a lot of female customers and that he can eventually court someone. It's a very small bakery, so he can kind of see everyone. At least that's the reason he gives us at first. Then we meet the patissier. He is an old high school classmate of the manager, and he is the gay demonic god of chaos or something is what they called him. Basically, the dick is tight and everyone wants some. Like everyone wants some. Every man that comes across his path would like some of that dick. And that's sort of his thing, except the only man that doesn't want him is the manager, because the movie opens with the patissier, when they're high schoolers, confessing to the manager, hey, I really like you. And then the manager calls him a faggot and throws a cake in his face. And you're like, all right, movie off to a fun start, everyone. And then we meet the boxing kid who, he was a boxer, he is no longer a boxer, and he's discovering his new dream of being a pastry chef. And then to round it all out, we have the manager's childhood friend and kind of bodyguard, sunglasses guy. And it's just about how all four of them kind of form this family together and open up a bakery.
Yeah. So I will be referring to them also by the 4 B's: the baker, the boxer, the bodyguard, and the boss.
Oh, why didn't you say? Like, I'm here with struggling with stupid words, and you're like, I have a quick and easy catchphrase. Okay, so we'll use that. The 4 Bs.
Yes, the 4 Bs. I found this movie to be such a roller coaster because not only does the movie have a twist in terms of like what it's really about, but also like it changes thematically almost. Like, okay, for those of you who aren't really keyed in on the backstory, this actually started as a manga and then it was turned into an anime, and then it's had a couple of live action adaptations. I think it had a Japanese one, it's got this one, it's about to have a Thai one. Like, it's had a lot of iterations, but because it started as a manga, when you first watch, I would say maybe the first 45 minutes of this movie, it has that like wild manic manga energy.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, like
I was so into it.
The fact they were able to like give you that in live action, I thought that was really cool how they translated that to the screen. But it, for a minute there, you kind of were like, if this is going to be the whole movie, I don't know if I can handle this much of this kind of energy. And then it starts to like mellow itself out, and then it takes like a really dark turn. And I just found it fascinating, like how many kind of feelings we go through in the course of this 2-hour movie. And it's a tight 2 hours.
It is. It's very much like Parasite in that sense, where it starts one way and then ends up another way. But this one takes a much harder pivot than Parasite was. Parasite's like a slow progress descending into terrible things. This is like la-di-da-di-da. Oh my God, this bakery, it's all fun. And then child kidnapping. And you're like, we went down a path, y'all. We went down a path.
Yes, we did. And I think that I really appreciated a lot of very subtle things that were put into the making of this movie that helped to make that shift all relate. Like, one of the things that I found to be really genius about the way they made this movie is in the beginning, during the really manic phase of everything, is when we start to build our cast of regulars. And then that cast of regulars becomes really important at the end when things get super dark, because one of our cast of regulars ends up being an endangered person in the last half.
Right.
And so it's like things that could seem like throwaway interactions all of a sudden start to matter. And I was like, I really appreciate that they did this.
This film definitely rewards the viewer who's seen it once. Like, if you were to watch it again, you would be rewarded by gaining a lot of information.
Yeah. So I definitely, I think this is a fun movie, and we're going to have a lot of positive stuff to say about it. So let's start with the very first interaction, which is between the baker and the boss when they were in high school. That was horrific to watch.
What a way to start this movie.
I mean,
no idea what we were about to watch, and this scene happened, and I was like, wow, great.
It was so painful and sad because it was like the bravery it would take in 1997, which is the year I graduated high school. The bravery
I
it would
was
take.
born.
Ah! So 1997, going up to a guy whose sexuality you don't know and confessing, hey, I like you. I don't expect you to act on this. I just wanted to leave school knowing that I told you my feelings. And then for that guy to not only reject your feelings, but to be cruel about it. Like, he starts off with like, so do you masturbate over me, you fucking pervert? Like, just everything that could go wrong outside of like, I don't know, having open wounds, all happens in that moment.
Yeah.
And what I think is really awesome, and I don't know if the movie maker intended this, after he gets the cake thrown at him, because he gets a cake thrown at him, so he like gets physically assaulted as well as injected. He goes to like the nearest gay bar, and immediately, within seconds, you watch his transformation from like a hurt, kind of upset, sad teen boy to being this like super desirable, super confident gay man. in like a second or two. And I was like, even though we're like barely in this movie, I really feel like that's kind of powerful, because for a lot of people that are struggling with their sexuality, you do start in a very scared, kind of confusing place. And that begins your transformation into who you end up becoming.
Right. It's like those YouTube It Gets Better videos, but less preachy.
Yeah. And like done so effective without like belaboring the point.
It was the movie showing us character growth and progress without telling it to us, which was very nice.
Yeah. So I loved that. So after that, I'm like, okay, I already know who I'm rooting for. And so then he goes into the interview for the bakery. And that's when we really find out like how much he has grown.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. The list of why he left his previous employers like was so funny.
Oh, yeah. Basically fucked everyone. He was like a homewrecker. It was insane.
Yeah, like he couldn't keep a job for more than a year, even though he is a fantastic baker. But it's because everyone falls in love with him. And like through no fault of his own, he just exudes and drips sexual energy. But like at one point, the boss's wife ran after him with a knife. The one bakery, everyone in the bakery got into a huge fist fight. Like it was just all the things that you could imagine that would go wrong in a romantic relationship all happened because he's fucking irresistible. And so he's like, I'm just gonna check real quick to make sure like I can work here with you because I am irresistible. And the guy's like, no. The boss is like, yeah, I'm not, no, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it. And so he ends up getting the job. And I just love the fact that already with their kind of opposite personalities and definitely opposite presentations, you already know this is going to be one of those kind of like, how do you describe it? Like odd family dynamics. Like they're already starting it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like odd couple dynamics. And so I really appreciate that because I'm like, oh, this is about to be something really good. I can see some growth about to happen here.
Yeah.
You know, there was a quick second where I'm like, he seems like he's about to fall for it, but then he's like, no.
Yeah. There was and then after that we go to the kid, right? He shows up.
The boxer. So after the boss hires the baker to work in the shop, they're having trouble keeping employees because true to his word, all the guys fall for him, and he can't hire any girls because the baker is afraid of women for some reason. So he like can't work with a woman in the store. So
which is if I was the boss, I would have been like tough, like staying back then because I'm hiring women because I need people to work here, sir.
Yeah. So he's trying to hire guys, but every guy he hires, the baker is like, I can fuck him. And then sure enough, they have to like toss someone into the street because a violent, toxic romance has started.
Right.
So the boxer boy comes in and the baker's like, yeah, this kid, he doesn't do it for me. Which is very ironic because the kid who plays the boxer is like one of the top Korean male actors currently.
Yeah, this is one of his first movie roles.
Yeah, so this is Yoo Ah-In. And like he's a superstar right now. But in this movie, like, yeah, no, I don't see it. Not that kid. So now we've got the third part of our little family.
Yay! I really liked the storyline for the kid and how like he was this great boxer, but he had like a retina detachment, I think. And basically doctors were like, you'll be fine, but if you box again, there's very likelihood that you'll get punched in the head and you'll be blind forever. So as long as you don't box, you'll be fine. So he has to discover a new dream. And he's like, well, I always liked eating sweets, so let's be a baker, which I like. I thought that was a good little narrative.
I appreciated that too. You know, and we we don't really find out that much about the boxer, actually. We do hear that he's an orphan, but that isn't really gone into to any great depth. It's just a statement that's made. But it's also kind of cool that he is the orphan, because in a way, he kind of functions as like the kid of this found family. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. And then our last B, the bodyguard. Initially, he gives a very creepy stalker vibe.
Oh, yeah. Because you're just like, there's like scenes where it's like, they don't show him, but they just show him like taking photos of the building and the people inside. And then I guess I didn't totally understand the scene where they reveal the bodyguard, because there's a bunch of people crowded over at this car. And they're like, get out, you stalker, I guess. And I'm like, what? This doesn't happen in life. I don't understand what's happening.
The kid who's the boxer, I guess, had started like pounding on the window, which I guess gathered a crowd. And he's like, I see you taking pictures of our shop. What the hell's wrong with you? Come out here. Which I'm thinking, oh, kid, don't do that. You might get hit in the head trying to fight. But he ends up coming out of the car because the police get involved. And that's when it's revealed that the bodyguard works for the family of the boss. So the boss's family had a housekeeper whose husband was abusing her, and she managed to escape her marriage with her child, her son, and she asked them if she could stay and just live on full time in order to escape this violence. And her son ends up becoming a part of the family, or working for the family, because his mother ends up passing away after they've left the father.
That poor guy.
I know.
But, he has a sad backstory.
He has a sad backstory. They all do. They all have something that's going on in the background. But like the bodyguard, more than anybody in this show, is just like such an innocent babe. And you just want to wrap him up in like bubble wrap and just keep him safe.
Oh yeah, he needs the bubble wrap too.
Yes.
Yes. This man is very nice, but also like wholeheartedly incompetent.
Like there's a scene where he's at the boss's house and he's making breakfast, and he's like, "Hey boss, I've got coffee," and behind him is a full-blown stove fire. Yeah.
he can't do anything right.
And also, it's they never make it more than like a mild flirtation, but the bodyguard does fall under the baker's trap.
Yes, which had me going thruple. I was like, I hope this ends with the boss, the bodyguard, and the baker, the thruple.
That would be cute.
And their child.
So, it doesn't happen in the show, but I was reading the Wikipedia entry for Antique, and the original artist who drew the manga did some of those, what do you call them? The doji, the kind of like the side fan.
Dojin?
Yeah, he did some dojin that has all the heterosexual guys in their different ships. So,
ooh, okay.
Yeah, so that's something you might want to look for on the internet, maybe. But yeah, apparently, listening to the fans saying, if only they would get together, the author was like, your wish is my command, and did some spin-off dojin of the different relationships. And the way that it was created was like, I guess, there's a set of three girls, like three high school girls that frequent the bakery very often. And so the three high school girls tell like each other like fanfic stories to each other of like their different ships in the shop, and then those ships get illustrated as the dojin.
Oh, that's really fun. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so that's cool if the author got in on that.
Yeah, I agree.
So once we have the bodyguard, we have all of our main characters, and that's when the focus really begins on like getting the shop set up. And so you see them kind of making sure that they are all learning the recipes, and that they all are familiar with the products. Because initially, when it was just the boss and the baker, the boss didn't even know what was in this stuff, because he doesn't eat sweets.
And when he does, he throws up.
Yes, like he has a very violent reaction to sweets. And so he doesn't detect flavor, he doesn't detect texture, he's just like sweet. So he doesn't really get to know a lot of the stuff until his baker's like, you have to get to know it because you've given an allergic reaction to one of our customers because you didn't alert them that the product you were selling them had alcohol and they are allergic to alcohol.
Right.
Yeah. So after that, he gets to know the product. And of course, the boxer, he's obsessed with sweets. So he wants to learn how to make them too. And so the rest of this show is like them establishing their dynamic and them getting to where the shop is all of a sudden getting a lot of recognition, like to the point where they're being featured in magazines because they're that good.
Yeah. I mean, the first half of this movie is like things just going so great for everyone. Like he has this Christmas promotion where he dresses up as Santa and delivers luxurious cakes and croquembouches, and like it's a hit and everyone wants to buy cake from this place and they're the hottest spot ever and everything's happy and good. Until I'm trying to think of the B word for him. The Frenchman shows up.
The bastard.
The bastard shows up.
Yes, the bastard. So there's, in the very beginning of the show, there is this narration coming from like a TV cooking show of this French guy talking about how delicious this opera cake is. And it seems like everyone in the show is listening to this cooking show. And that's kind of how we are introduced to all the characters, which we didn't even mention the fact that at the very beginning of the movie, we see the boss attempting to commit suicide while listening to this French guy talk about cake.
Oh yeah, that was a weird opening scene. There was just kind of, I think it's because that scene had almost too much going on. I remember being like, whoever edited this did a bad job because these cuts are almost too quick that they're not reading at all.
Right. So the French guy is on a plane on his way to Korea and he opens like the in-flight magazine and sees this shop. And his initial reaction upon seeing the shop, it seemed like he was interested in the shop itself. But when he lands and gets to the shop, he's like, I'm here to see your baker. And immediately all of a sudden we're in like a French romantic film.
Yeah, and he was like a dick too. Like he comes in being like, I need to speak to the baker. And then the kid's like, what the fuck? Just go sit down.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, this is how you treat customers. And it's like, this is how you act as a customer?
Yeah, like he comes into the shop and the bodyguard greets him, which we've already talked about how the bodyguard is kind of a dimbo. He's speaking French to a Korean man and is upset because the Korean man doesn't understand his French.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
that just, yeah. I mean, but that, I would believe that would happen, I think.
I could see that. I could see that happening, but also like for you to get offended, but you're in someone else's country and you're not speaking a language that they speak and you're mad because they don't speak your language, like that's not their fault. People can't know every single language on earth.
Absolutely. But also, as a white person, that's the thing that we do.
It's so annoying. Good thing. It's so annoying.
The colonizer tendencies live on.
What, you can't accommodate me, a white man? Like, the guy does not speak a lick of Korean the entire movie. Every single interaction is in French.
And that somehow the boss also knows French.
Well, I guess him coming from a wealthy, I think him coming from a wealthy family, maybe that's why. I mean, his family had a bodyguard and a housekeeper, so
and like multiple houses. Because at one point where he's with the bodyguard and he's like, oh, are you going to our main house? And I'm like, this isn't the main house.
Yeah. So like he has access and I could see him learning French because I used to watch a lot of K-dramas. I don't watch as many anymore, but there was a period of time there where like Korean people were obsessed with like French food.
For sure. I mean, even like a lot of popular Korean bakeries still have like French name, like Paris Baguette's a popular one. tous les jours. I can't pronounce French anything, so I'm sorry that all of these sounds terrible, but yeah, like I really love tous les jours actually. Whenever I go to K-Town, I try and hit one up because they're very tasty.
Yes. So at the time, I could see a wealthy Korean guy learning French, knowing French, because like people in Korea are obsessed with like French fashion designers. They're obsessed with French food. So learning French, it does seem very reasonable. Yeah. But the minute he lays eyes on the baker, the bastard is just like, my love, I'm so glad to see you. You're so beautiful. Now make me these 3 things so I can see if your talent is still maintained. And so the baker brings out a chocolate eclair, an apple pie, and a croissant. Because I guess these are like the absolute standard French pastries that every baker shows their talent with. And so the bastard is eating them and kind of judging them. And of course, the baker's standing back, oh my gosh, did I do well, Daddy? And he's like, excellent as usual, my love. And then they roll into bed together. And I don't know why the bed scenes with them are just hilarious. Like the bastard.
I kind of liked it.
I like them, but they're funny to me because, like, again, this movie has so many different tones. So we had like the super comedic tone of like the found family finding their places.
Oh yeah, this movie was like, we want to be a soft found family film, but also Moulin Rouge, but like also a sensitive French romance, and also like a crime horror thriller.
Yeah,
and it's like I feel like that could have worked if they maybe picked like, okay, I'll talk about this filmmaking later, but I think what they should have done is gone like really leaned into stylism, because when you lean into stylism, you can get away with more like zany tone changes like that. But yeah, I agree. It was a little weird, but I liked them. Like I saw the vision of like what they were going for in those scenes.
I saw the vision too, but it was just like so funny because like all of a sudden, whenever those two were together, we are transported to France. It's just like, oh, my love, no one has ever cooked my food the way you do. Oh, but my love, we had such a volatile romance. Do you think we could be together again? Like, it's just so funny because the rest of the show is not that at all.
Right?
Yeah. So that's why I always found their interactions very funny prior to their bad interaction. So, of course, when the bastard shows up, that is when their found family is in danger of falling apart, because the bastard has been doing really well with his bakery, but he has some recipes that the baker made while, I guess, working with him in Paris that became so popular that the Ritz would like to open a patisserie using those recipes, but he doesn't feel like anyone else could possibly recreate his recipes except for the baker. So he has come to Korea to ask the baker to come work at the expansion patisserie in the Ritz. And we didn't mention this earlier, but the whole reason why the baker took the job at Antique is because he wanted to buy Prada pants.
Yeah, in cash. He wanted to buy Prada pants in cash.
Because he had maxed out his credit card buying a shirt. it's such a random. This show's random.
Yeah. So he was gonna get like $300,000, I think it was, a year.
Yeah, it was like 200,000 to 300,000 euros. I think at this point they were using 200,000 to 300,000 euros a month. I think it was like some crazy.
A month?
Yeah, it was like some crazy amount.
I thought it was a year, and I was like, "Sir, you need to go. $200,000 a year, you need to go."
Yeah, so it was like a lot. So, of course, you gotta think about it, because even though in France they had a romantic relationship, it is hinted to that they had like problems. Like they fell into bed with each other 15 minutes after meeting each other, but they had a volatile relationship in France.
Yes.
So you kind of have to think like, am I willing to go back to that situation? Because it seems like going back to France isn't just going there for a job. It's also having to be in close proximity to this person you've had this kind of bad relationship with.
Yeah, a probably toxic one.
Yeah. So those are kind of the things that are going on in the background. But there's one thing that we weren't really aware of, which was that the boss did not just open this bakery in order to pick up ladies. He actually opened this bakery because of his childhood trauma, which
Yeah.
I will let Mason talk about it because it makes me sad.
It's essentially, he was kidnapped as a kid, and thankfully escaped. But he was, I think, it was weird because they were like, the guy never asked for a ransom because he kidnapped him because his son had passed away. And I guess he just wanted like a replacement son. So he kidnapped him and he eventually escaped. But he forgot pretty much everything that had happened during his kidnapping. All he knows is that bad shit happened and it was scary, but he doesn't remember it.
Again, this movie is so good. There's this moment at his birthday party after he's been kidnapped. And his mother changes his name after he was kidnapped because there was so much attention on him because he survived. He had been missing for a month and then was found covered in blood. And so everyone was interested. So the mom changed his name. He has a birthday party. At the birthday party, he's fed this really beautiful cake and goes to the bathroom and gets sick. And the mom is pounding on the door, like, honey, are you okay? And he had overheard his mother talking to the grandmother about his trauma and the fact that, you know, he hasn't really said what happened. And there's this scene where he's staring in the mirror and he talks about there being a drawer in him where all of the bad stuff was kept. And so he decides at that birthday to close that drawer and swallow the key so that that darkness will never be released. But in doing so, he represses all of these memories from this traumatic event as well. And I was like, that's really cool that they visualized it the way that they did for the screen.
Yeah. That was nice. I'm sure that was in the manga too.
I'm pretty sure, because like this is a very visual movie, so I have to believe that it took a lot of cues from the manga.
I did read a review that said that they said that they liked the movie because it was like beat for beat really similar to the manga, which is never a good way to base your review, by the way, that it's similar to the source material. That is a fallacy, but apparently it's very close to the manga.
Yeah. So it came across really well on screen as well. But he's been struggling through the years because of this. Like he has had relationship after relationship that didn't go well. And on the one hand, a typical person might look at each relationship as being its strength and its demise based on the two people involved in that moment. But for him, he's like, I am the commonality. Every time they leave me, it's because I'm lacking something. And I don't know how to recover what it is I'm lacking, but I feel like it has to be involved with my kidnapping because I don't remember what happened. And maybe whatever it is that's making me lack and giving me these night terrors and everything else, if I could just find a way to solve this, then I could get over this, whatever this blockages I have, and I can become a whole person and I can find a love partner for this whole person. Because like the last person that he dates is someone who's also struggling with their own mental health and their own kind of like painful background. And she flat out tells him like, you're too screwed up. Which, I mean, my God, how painful.
It's painful, but I also think it's in some ways a good moral, because I think a lot of people do try to repress stuff like that. And it is hard, but the only way to get better is to deal with it head on, you know? Like at some point you have to battle your demons.
So he literally decides to not only battle his demons, but put his demons in a cage for life if he can.
Yes.
So
which does not work. He has nightmares. It's sad.
yeah.
And then honestly, I have to say, I think maybe it bears a rewatching because I got really confused in the third act. With like the kidnapping and stuff.
Okay.
Because like his actual kidnapper, the guy with the limb, was like, he was alive at the end at the bakery. And so did he just like accidentally stumble upon a different child boy murderer?
Yes, he did. That's what happened. So there were two women who were like regulars at the bakery. One of them and they're both kind of like older married women who you believe would have like adult children. And one of them, she's like a really super classy, kind of like almost like a business lady who comes in and gets cakes for her family. And then there's this other lady who's kind of more, she almost comes across as like a stay-at-home mom. And she comes in and gets cakes. Well, the one lady who is kind of the businessy woman looking lady, she's married to an old man. And that old man is the person who kidnapped the boss.
Okay.
And he has another kid in their house that he's feeding cakes to. And that's the whole reason why the boss opened the cake shop, is because he knew that whoever kidnapped him is obsessed with sweets. And he was hoping that he could corner them through a process of elimination. Like eventually they're going to come in. Well, there is a scene where an older lady comes into the shop and she's trying to get cakes, and she's feeling poorly. She passes out at one point in the shop. And so they are like, well, it's raining outside. You're not feeling good. Let me give you a ride home in my comically small car. It is the tiniest car in the world. Like it is. Yeah. I don't even know what kind of car this is. I think it's some type of Volkswagen, but it is little. So he drives her home and he gets out the car just to make sure she makes it into her house safely. And while he's doing that, he hears screams. And the screams he hears are not like, I got scared. It's like, you can tell something is actively happening that is wrong. Right. And he had noticed that the lady had like bruising on her neck that she covered with a scarf. So he's about to go in her house because the screams he hears sound like child screams. And so he's like, this might be it. Like, this might be the person who hurt me. So goes into the house, and the woman is like, no, that's my son, that's my son. And there was a moment there when I was really worried, because like you, I'm like, this is not the same old lady that lives with the old man. You're about to make a big mistake here. And so I was really worried when he started barging into her house, because I'm like, you're going to walk into a situation that's going to hurt you. This is not good.
Right.
And at one point, like the woman that he drove home, she like puts up a knife to him, like she's gonna fight him to keep him from going up the stairs and seeing what's going on. Well, he goes anyway, and I guess through this process of like going towards that sound, he's starting to unlock the drawer, because once he gets upstairs, he ends up opening this locked door, and this kid whose mom was a regular at the bakery, the kid who had the allergic reaction to the alcohol, runs out of the room and is like, oh my God, thank you for finding me. Oh my God, help me. And that's when the boss realizes, I have come across a monster.
Yeah.
And the monster all of a sudden becomes not this man who kidnapped him. He becomes like this foggy, faceless form of terror. And he proceeds to fight this terror in the house. And by the time it's over, he's got like this man whose face is completely bloody by the neck.
Oh, he's poking him out.
Yeah, he's about to kill him. And we come to find out that this is a different kidnapper, but this kid is like the son of this lady. And he has been kidnapping boys, feeding them cake, and then murdering them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while no, the boss didn't find his own kidnapper and bring his own kidnapper to justice, in a way, he's basically defeated the monster because, like I said, during that fight, that monster that he had held inside of him, the monster that had been terrorizing him at night, that was who he fought. Like at that point, he wasn't thinking about this is this lady's son or anything like that. He's like, I'm battling the monster. And, you know, you have to wonder, like, does that help him?
I don't know. Well, because then it also leaves the question of like, that old man that he didn't get also still has a kid with him, right?
I don't know, because the old man that actually kidnapped him has a wife who tells him, I'm moving to Busan. If you want to go with me, you can. But if you're not, I'm going to go anyway, because I can't keep living in this house with you bringing these little boys in here, because like I too lost my son and this is not helping us.
Yeah.
So yeah, when she leaves, we don't hear anything else about the little boy that was in the house.
Right.
So I really and truly don't know if that little boy survived.
I don't either. I think that's my problem with this movie is there are a couple plot threads that just seem to die out in weird ways. Like, honestly, I think we need more information. Like, I still have a lot of questions about this ending.
Yeah.
Maybe they're answered in the manga. Maybe there were some visual clues that I just didn't pick up on.
I don't know.
Because, like, there was, like, this one flashback scene. I thought it was so strange, where it's, like, he's, like, tied up plank-wise, and he's, like, being lifted up. And then there's, like, another figure that's, like, hanged and being lowered. Do you remember that shot?
I do.
Like, what was that? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions, but I also feel like that's Korean cinema. Because, you know, in the West, especially in America, not so much maybe in France and Sweden, but in America, we do not like open endings. We do not like sad endings. We want our happy endings. We want our conclusions.
And a lot more hand-holding.
Yes. Whereas a lot of times in Asian cinema, they're like, that's how life is. In life, you don't get all the answers. In life, sometimes things just stop where they stop.
Right.
You know, and especially like even the ending of Parasite, you want to know, like, did the dad survive? You know, what happened to the family? And it's almost like Bong Joon-ho makes fun of the American need for a happy ending by giving us the fantasy sequence of the son buying the house and the dad coming out and everyone being happy. You know, he's like, since I know you guys can't live without a happy ending, here's one for you, shut up. You know, but like this is a movie made for Korean audiences, and in doing so, like, you feel like the boss would be happy finally confronting his kidnapper. You think that he'd be happy bringing the kidnapper to justice. He gets both of those things, but in a fragmented way. He brings one kidnapper to justice, and he does face his kidnapper, but they aren't the same thing.
Right.
And he
emotionally he emotionally gets over his demons.
Yes. So it's really interesting. Like, they bring things in that don't have any answers, but at the end of the movie, the boss doesn't really have any answers.
Yeah, the movie is very ambiguous in the ending, even with like the romance too. Like, are they gonna get together? Okay, because I also, like, the whole time I was watching this movie, I thought it was gonna go totally Tharn type with it. Like, I thought he had been kidnapped and was molested, and that is why he was so homophobic. And I thought that once he battled his demons, he would be like, all right, I can be gay now. Because I thought that one of the reasons that the women didn't like him was that he just wasn't totally connecting with them because he was gay. Deep down, he was gay, and he just wasn't all in. That's kind of like what I was taking from the narrative.
Right. And I mean, I would have appreciated a twist like that too, because again, I love a happy ending. But I feel like what the women were catching on to, which made them feel like he was so empty, and the thing that he didn't even realize he was doing, his mother and his grandmother talk about him when they go to the shop to have coffee. And the mom is like, how does he seem to you? And the grandma's like, oh, he seems fine. He seems perfectly okay. And the mom's like, that's what I'm worried about. He always seems okay.
Yes, he's definitely has a bit of like toxic positivity when he's talking to people, which does make him good as like a boss. Like he's very good at working with the customers and making you feel welcome coming into his shop. But yeah, it takes a moment to really get to know him.
Yeah, and like even when the police show up and they set up surveillance cameras in the shop because they too are looking for the kidnapper, he every time he can, he turns to the cameras and smiles and waves and like makes happy faces. And it's just like, sir, this is a murder investigation. There's no need to make happy faces to the camera.
He really needs to like, I feel like he's literally just like smiling through the pain. He's like, if I am left alone for even 1 second to be with my thoughts, I will spiral. So,
yeah.
He's like operating at a 20 out of 10 because he's like, if I get down to a 10 out of 10, I'm over. I'm gonna be a depressed spiral. And it's like, okay, do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So like it is one of those things where you definitely feel like it's not the fact that you're a bad guy, it's the fact that you have all this unresolved trauma and you keep masking it by pretending everything is okay. But in those moments, like in your sleep, when you can't stop the demons from coming around, that's when everything falls apart. And so,
right.
Does this help at all? Does this help at all?
Yeah.
I don't know. We need to talk about the baker and the baker's trauma. So we mentioned how at the very opening of the movie, he has this trauma with the boss, and that the boss not only cruelly rejected his glove confession, but then like threw a fucking cake in his face, which it wasn't like slapstick, foam pie. It was like, it looked like it was painful, and he ends up falling, trying to get away from him. Like it was bad.
Yeah. And then he says, I was gonna kill myself that night, but I went to the clubs to get like pissed drunk and have like one fun night out. And I was like, oh my God. But everyone loved him, so he didn't kill himself.
Yeah, he's like, I found dick that night and it saved my life.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, that trauma was like on top of additional trauma from the first man he ever had a crush on. And the first man he ever had a crush on, he finds that man having sex with his mother behind his father's back. And he didn't realize he had a crush on this man until he saw this man sleeping with his mother. And then he realized, oh no, I had romantic feelings for a man. This is not going to bode well for me moving forward. So he's got a lot of trauma around his sexuality. And, that whole being the demonic god of gayness, like it's a title he's given himself because he kind of feels like that's all I'm good for. I'm good for seducing men, turning them out, and then releasing them into the wild. He has foundational insecurities that he masks with kind of an overconfidence in the same way that the boss does. Like the boss is toxic positivity, whereas the baker seems like he supplements his low self-esteem with overt displays of confidence.
Yes. And people validating him.
Yes. To the point that this relationship with the bastard is allowed to continue, even though we find out the bastard is abusive. And the abuse, that was a hard scene. Everything about this movie towards the end gets hard, but that whole sequence was really hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It was just it it's just sad to see that, because it happens in real life and it's sad, and you know.
It was, I don't know if their fights in Paris, in France, were as physical as this fight, but at one point in the fight, the bastard was going to break the baker's hand, which would have severely impaired his ability to do anything, especially
To do
bake.
his job, yeah.
Yeah. And so luckily the bodyguard and the boss show up just in time to prevent this from happening. But when the baker is discussing the incident afterwards, he's like, it's my fault for being a pervert, seductive gay man. And the boss is kind of like saying, you quit thinking like that, don't be like that. But it's the bodyguard who's like, shut up, don't say that. You don't deserve to ever have anyone lay their hands on you. And you have no idea how much it hurts to watch you believe you deserve this, because I've lived that life. And it destroys the people around you to watch you take this. And I don't know. Everyone else has faced their demons. It doesn't seem like maybe the baker has faced his, but I hope that
Not
moment.
yet.
I hope that moment with the bodyguard was maybe like the first step in him realizing, like, maybe I need, if I can't do it for myself, maybe I can do it for others, take a little bit more care about myself.
Right.
Yeah. So after the bastard has beaten on him, the bastard decides to go back to Paris, and the baker wishes him a goodbye at the airport.
Yeah. A romantic and sensual, to our love, goodbye.
And it is exactly like this, like, I know we cannot be together. It's because you love your boss. Like, I know, my love, but I will always have a special place in my heart for you. I'm just like, no, fucking kick him in the kneecaps. You shouldn't let the bodyguard break his hand.
And the reason he gives him to is like, oh, I want to train this kid, which I'm sure is a reason, but it's definitely not the only reason.
No. So I guess he's not actually over his crush on the boss. And that's the whole reason why the bastard started beating him, is because he was mad that he would not leave Korea for him. But yeah, I was just like, this makes me sad, because you still have a lot of work ahead of you. But hopefully the boss and the baker can work on their personal demons together.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely a movie I'd be like, I would love a spin-off TV show, a sequel. Like I would, if they made more, I'd watch more.
It makes me hope that maybe if the Thai show does go into production, that they'll think a little bit harder about how to spin the twist ending, and they'll maybe work it out so that some of this stuff can be resolved.
Yes, although the Thai show, so I guess we should talk about that now since we're there. The Thai show is weird because the trailer makes it seem like the bakery, everyone involved at the bakery is killing people.
Yes.
Which is an interesting twist, and I could be okay with, like, we get real dark with this. We're gonna get super dark theming, and I'm okay with that. But I don't know if I want GMMTV to do it.
Yeah, because
it could be a misdirect. We don't know yet, but
yeah, it might be like, it might get absurd, and I'm not sure if I want that. And also, like, I'm also scared where they'll take the homophobia, because, you know, this show, in a lot of ways, it had a very dark homophobic moment, but overall, it seemed like it veered away from that. But GMMTV, go ahead.
Oh yeah, this was a very good portrayal. I thought it was a very positive portrayal of gay people.
Yeah. So I don't know how sensitive GMMTV will be with this, and like how much blatant homophobia will run throughout a series. Because we saw Tono Chomati and how they let that homophobia thread run till the very fucking last second. Yeah. And I don't want that for this property.
I don't either. I could definitely see after he's after they rescue Baker from the bastard, and he's like, oh, it's because I'm such a sleazy gay man. I could definitely see someone being like, yep, stop being such a sleazy fag. Because that's GMMTV's whole thing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want that. I really hope that's not what they end up doing.
Me too, but that's what I foresee.
Yeah. So the show treatment, I think I'd rather have Taiwan approach it, but considering what's been going on in China lately, just ahead of time, y'all need to know we might stop seeing Taiwanese boys love.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to do a rant about this. I'm just going to tell you guys real quick. China has recently done a huge crackdown on what they call girly men and sissy men. And they are working very hard to keep effeminate men from being portrayed in pop culture. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, they've already had a ban on like overt gayness in pop culture. That's the reason why huge Boys Love the Untamed was a bromance instead of a BL, even though it was written as a BL. Mm-hmm. It was a Boys Love novel, but it got the bromance treatment on screen. And so, yeah, they have recently had a big crackdown on that. They're going to start erasing Chinese celebrities from the internet. They already erased one actress, but they're getting ready to erase more people that they deem as undesirable, making it to where you can't watch any of their dramas, you can't watch any of their shows. When you web search their name, they will have no results. Like, it's beginning to get bad, and Taiwan has a very complicated, very close relationship with China. So pretty soon, Taiwan will feel the pressure to no longer allow BLs to be produced there. They'll probably reverse their stance on gay marriage pretty soon, and things are going to get dark. And so I would love to see a Taiwanese redo of this property, but I just don't think it's in the cards right now.
I would too. The world is scary. Things like that are maybe going to happen here within the next few years. So that's sad. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, when the U.S. pulled out, I don't want to get super political, but when the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan, people were in a race against time to delete their social media presences. Because knowing that the Taliban was going to be in charge of their government and also in charge of their communication systems, they were afraid that the things that they published in private on social media would now be accessible to the government, and they could possibly be punished for expressing themselves in a place where they thought they had privacy.
Right.
So it's a scary turn of events. I almost feel like COVID was one of the horses of the apocalypse. But that's just me going that extra mile in my conspiracy aluminum hat theory brain. Because it almost feels like after COVID, like the world just collectively lost its mind. Everything is on fire. So it's like we're getting the plagues, we're getting the fires, we're getting the political unrest. Like all the bad things are happening because the end is nigh.
Yep. It sucks.
Yeah. But that, again, I'm not trying to rant, but I'm just saying that to say that like this movie did a lot for 2 hours. So much so that I would love to see a show about this, but I just don't know what country could really give us a show that could honor this property correctly. Like, I feel like this movie probably did the best it could do.
I think, I wonder if the people who did I Told Sunset About You could do this. I think they could do it. I think this show would need a strong visual direction. And I think the problem with the filmmaking of this movie is it felt like there were times where I feel like they really tried and I saw what they were going for, but I still feel like even though I like the big show numbers and some of the cinematography, it still felt very clunky. The editing was overdone in a lot of time. Like, they were doing scenes that had a lot of quick cuts, kind of like Moulin Rouge or like an Edgar Wright movie. But when you do shots like that, you have to have really specific shots that read super clearly in those quick half-second snaps. And I just don't think that they accomplished that. So like things would flash by and I'd be like, I don't know what I just saw. But there were like really good moments of filmmaking. Like the moment when there's a scene kind of early on where this guy comes in with his girlfriend, she leaves him, and he's like, oh, I'm a boxer, and that kid, you were that boxer that beat me in this match. And the kid's like, yeah, what about it? And they start to like, he like antagonizes him. So when the kid punches him, like right when he connects with the guy's face, it like immediately match cuts to them in the boxing ring, him being punched over. And it was just like a really quick match cut. And then it goes right back to him falling over like at the bakery. And it's like moments like that. I was like, oh, that was a really nice little editing moment. I'm really glad they put that in there. And it's like, there were moments of greatness. I think that this movie suffered from probably a low budget.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the locations were very limited, low budget. Yeah. And it's crazy because this movie is chock full of Korean who's who of actors. Like, first of all, Yoo Ah-In, huge actor. The actor who plays the boss, huge actor. The actor who played the baker was in Coffee Prince, which is a massive property, which made Gong Yoo a superstar. The old man who plays the original kidnapper, he's been in just tons of dramas for the last 30, 40 years. I mean, like, these are all heavy hitters. So I don't know if maybe the budget was spent on the actors, because also the guy, the boss, he was in the Princess Hours, Gong, which was a huge property in Korea. So like, yeah, I don't know if they're like, we are sacrificing budget to get the right people to play these parts. But if I have to choose between the actors and maybe like doing things on a smaller scale like they did with this, I think the actors were worth it.
I agree. I thought the acting was very good. I really enjoyed all of the main cast, especially Yoo Ah-In. He was great as the boxing kid, like super good scene stealer. I do think that this movie either needs to, like, if you're going to adapt it, you need to lean in way heavier to the stylization aspects of it. We need some really tight cinematography and costume design. But honestly, this should be an animated movie.
There is an anime. I don't know. It's not an animated movie, but there is an anime for this. It was actually made in anime before it was made into live action.
Oh, okay. I'm like, this would be a great animated movie.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these things that we could do, especially because like there's so many tone shifts, and because it's animation can fare better with a tone shift than live action can, because your suspension of disbelief is already a little bit gone, because it's a drawing. You know that it's at the end of the day not real. So like Mulan's a good example. There's a girl worth fighting for, do, and then they like get to the village they need to go to and everyone's dead. And you're like, oh.
Like, ooh, dark.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if this would work in live action, but it works in animation, and that's what's important, right?
Yeah. And like there are certain scenes that like I could have done without, and I think they would have assisted in keeping the budget in line. There were a lot of like musical scenes in this movie.
I thought they were very fun though.
They were fun, but I was like, I think maybe some of like costuming and making those musical sets and stuff, maybe that's where they could have saved a little bit of money.
Yeah, because they had some weird CG there too.
Yeah.
Like if they took them out and maybe spent more money on the Shadow Man, because that was a really ugly effect, which did take me out. Which again was another reason why I was like, oh, if this was animated, there's so many cool possibilities of how you would draw this out. But
yeah,
it was a very good, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I would give this an 8.5 out of 10. I really, really like this.
I'm gonna give it an 8. It was really solid, really fun movie. I don't know if I'd watch the back half as many times, but I could definitely see myself just watching that first hour. And being like, oh, this was really fun. I enjoyed this.
And also, we didn't talk about it, but I really love the end of this movie because the boxer goes to Paris to learn how to be a patissier. And so, or patissier, I guess, yeah. And the bodyguard decides to leave because he realizes that his boss has kind of gotten over that sadness that had been kind of engulfing him. And so he's left too. So it's just the baker and the boss left at the restaurant. And like the girls come by to buy cake and they're like hugged up on each other. And I'm just like, oh, the odd couple still together. And then like at the very end of the movie also, the boss is at home talking to the bodyguard and he's like so happy. Like he woke up early, he's on the phone, smokes a cigarette, takes out his trash, and he just looks content. And even though we never did resolve his original kidnapping, in a way we kind of did get a happy ending in that he still got someone who cares a lot for him in his life. And that's what he wanted through all these failed relationships. And he's found some sort of peace in the end with what happened to him.
Right.
Or at least a way to keep living without allowing it to keep him from being happy. Yeah. So one of the things that I got super excited about while watching this movie was the fact that the lead actor who plays the boss was in a Guy-In video, probably, in my opinion, her best video. It's a video called Fuck You.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and apparently him and Guy-In, they dated in real life, and unfortunately, it did not work out well for them. There were some drug things that happened, and Guy-In had a period for her mental health that was really unfortunate, and during that time, she made some statements about his drug use and the drug use of his friends, and it was a very ugly party in a lot of ways. But because he was in this video, it gives Mason an opportunity to talk to you about the girls.
I love the Brown Eyed Girls. I think they're amazing, but I especially love Guy. And when Sam sent this, I of course immediately watched it for like the 100th time. Guy is like one of my all-time favorites, but it just made me sad because I was thinking like, wow, this was really a groundbreaking video and song for 2013 in K-pop. And it would be groundbreaking today too. And I think that made me sad because I was like, oh, wow, just no one's trying to push any boundaries in K-pop right now. Thematically, musically, it's all just kind of the same right now. And I hate that. Like, go watch Guy-In's Bloom and come back and tell me that, that song doesn't bop. Because that song is great. Bloom sounds just as good as it did 10 years ago, as it does today. But also, when will your faves masturbate on the kitchen floor? Like, Guy-In was pushing like female sexuality and being open about that stuff. And I'm not saying that like that's the message that I want these artists to do. I'm just saying like I need anything, because every boy group is just trying to be a BTS and every girl group is just trying to be a Blackpink.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're missing concepts. And that's why I appreciate SM, because I feel like SM is noticing that. And I feel like they're kind of leaning into it. Like the teaser poster for Key today was super weird, but I was like, it's something, it's anything, it's interesting. I'm engaged with this teaser poster. The NCT 127 posters where it's like, they're eating like red cherries against a lime green background. I'm like, this is great. This is some really nice color styling. I'm very interested in this. Like aespa's Next Level teasers, those like illustrations, oh my God. They went like viral every day because people were like, oh, these are some fucking knockout teasers. These are good concepts. And I miss that for K-pop. Because Blackpink doesn't really do concepts. They just do like, and that's sad because 21 had concepts.
Yeah, like if you've ever watched the 21 video for Ugly, or if you've watched like, even the Hate video was interesting. It Hurts was another one. Like they had storylines.
It's just, it just makes me sad. I wish that K-pop, especially, they would stop work. I feel like every K-pop group works with the same few like Western producers nowadays too. Like they always work with those Swedish people. They always work with a like Luna only uses these certain producers, and it's like y'all got to find something interesting musically because this isn't happening.
Yeah, I was watching the video again just to kind of familiarize myself with the video, and I had all of these like nostalgic waves of enjoyment because I was thinking about like this time in K-pop and what an interesting time it was. And the video, the Fuck You video, is about rape in a relationship. And it's one of those things that is never talked about. When people think of rape, they think of, stranger on the street violently attacking a woman and leaving her bruised and bloody. But there is a such thing as domestic rape, where you're in a relationship with somebody you've had sex with before, but you tell them, I don't want this right now. And they're like, well, we go together, so I'm going to take what I believe is mine, whether you want to give it to me or not. And in a country that is still in the midst of Me Too and a strong anti-feminism wave from the men of the country,
right?
If a video like this came out today, it would not only be outstandingly brave to do, but this would also be a career-ending video.
Honestly, Gain's music would honestly arguably more groundbreaking today. If you released Fuck You, Bloom, and Paradise Lost today, I think they'd hit harder for sure.
They would hit harder, but I mean, the waves of men who would complain about, oh, this is more male bashing and women will find to make men the bad guy. Like, that sentiment didn't actually even exist at the time that the video came out. Instead, a lot of people were like, wow, we've never thought of it that way. And like, thank you for having the conversation. And we've lost a lot because companies are so scared of the general public being upset that we no longer talk about experiences in K-pop. Like, part of having a storyline is to talk and portray a human experience. And now, in order to kind of seem as messageless and non-political as possible, the videos are very kind of like dance performance oriented.
Yeah, but I don't just mean the videos. I mean like sonically too. Like lyrically, there's nothing to any of these songs. Like I think people think Girl Crush is being like, fuck this man, and like that's not. 21 and like 4 Minute and Miss A were like kind of the pioneers of Girl Crush. That wasn't the basis of a lot of their songs. Some of them, sure, but not all of them.
Yeah, Ugly was about how I feel ugly. Not people calling me ugly, even though YG's doing that all the time, but me just feeling lonely and ugly and unlovable, and me having to deal with that low self-esteem and trying to shake myself out of it. Blackpink would never. All their songs were about how I am so super confident and I pity the man who doesn't know how to treasure a bitch like me. Queen shit. Like, that's what the songs are about. And it would be lovely if everyone
all attitude. Yeah, it's attitude without substance.
Right. And it's like, how do I get to that point? Because we're not all there. And K-pop used to sing about the periods in between that low and that high, and navigating that space.
It's gone. And like even styling, like I was looking at like what was it? I was looking at Stacy and that new RBW group, Purple Kiss, and a couple other girl groups, and they were wearing like those plaid, like the plaid skirts and stuff, and I was just like, and then I was watching Produce 101, the very first season with Somi and everyone. That was 2016, January. I'm watching Girls Planet 99. They are wearing the same outfits in terms of like their casual clothes. Like the style and stage outfits, like the styling of K-pop hasn't changed at all in the last few years. Have you noticed that like when we had second gen, people were doing like bonkers shit all the time, And I think in 2015, second gen had figured out a look that worked. And I just think that no one's tried anything else since then. You know?
Yeah, when the guys wear clothes that are out of the ordinary, it's done as a gimmick. Like when the guys wear crop tops now, it's like, look, I'm wearing a crop top. Are you interested in our teaser pictures now? It's
Right.
never like doing it because they're trying to put together a look or trying to make a statement with the clothes. Like the
Right.
crop top is just, it's a suit with the bottom part of the suit cut up to the nipple. That's it. It's not actually something different.
Right. Which is why I really like the Hyuna and Dawn teaser photos. Like, I know that they're not your favorite and you wish, I know that they're not your faves. But I have to admit, the styling has been, at the very least, interesting. Because they're going for a full concept.
Imagine, if you will, that the Goodwill composed of like Gucci, Fendi, and Prada, and two glamorous homeless people came into the Goodwill and rolled around on the floor. That's what the teaser pictures look like to me.
I think they're very well styled, and I think that they have bright colors, and I think they have fun shape language. It's very like e-girl and e-boy vibes, which I like. And then like the album highlight medley that came out last night, I was like, oh, this album, like this is a good, the teaser photos were a good visual representation of the album, because it sounds kind of like a Doja Cat album.
I have not even listened to the music because the teaser pictures were so god awfully ugly to me. Like
I think
every
it's maybe my
outfit.
Oh, I think it's maybe it's probably one of my favorite K-pop stylings I've ever seen. I'm eating it up. It's so good.
Good
you
for
just don't
you.
get art, Sam. You just don't get it. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, honestly, if outside of the glamorous Goodwill comparison, the other comparison I'm thinking in my mind is like, they look like scene kids who are on massive amounts of drugs and they're about to go to a club and listen to Kim Petras. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting from the teasers.
But like, I'm okay with that vibe. Like, I maybe want to do that. Like, let's have some shrooms and go listen to Kim Petras. I'm okay with this idea.
Yeah, so that's why I'm just like, I don't have a problem with Kim Petras, but I have a problem with those two looking completely strung out, and that's not for me.
It's
one
not
thing
for you, yeah.
And one thing I will say, Hyuna is losing a lot of her luster for me. I know that you have loved her recent comebacks and the things that she's done. I have not enjoyed Hyuna in a really long time. I have not enjoyed her clothing. I have not enjoyed her music, and I absolutely have not enjoyed her dancing. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to get over that anytime soon, because I don't think that Dawn brings out the best in her.
It does feel like Hyuna is pulling things from Dawn, but it's not. I do agree with that about Dawn and Hyuna. Although I do disagree with the rest of it, because I mean, yeah, that dance stage she had with Jessie was, I mean, we don't have to talk about it because it was bad. But I like I'm Not Cool. I hope her full-length album is good. I always think that Hyuna's B-sides are slept on. I think she has some really interesting B-sides if you go through her catalog.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, K-pop now, they're very focused on being non-offensive and making it something that K-pop was accused of being when it wasn't. When I first started listening to K-pop back in like 2011, 2012, everybody's like, oh, K-pop is just bubblegum visuals and sweetness and happiness, and it has no substance. And this is back when we had like Sunny Hill making videos, and we had all this other really interesting stuff happening. And now K-pop really and truly has become bubble gum. Yummy bubble.
It's sad. I think it's because a lot of the groups are just trying to appeal to the international fans the most so they can get those album sales.
Yeah, K-pop is no longer really a domestic product. And that was the thing, like back when second generation K-pop groups were winning music shows, it's because that music literally was the most popular music in the country outside of trot.
Right. Like a music show win doesn't mean much anymore. it's a higher pay grade for these artists going forward. Like they get paid more if they've won a music show for when they do performances. But other than that, it doesn't mean the song's popular. There's lots of songs that have zero presence on the Korean charts that win shows. I mean, aespa's Next Level has been top 3 on the Korean charts for like 3 months and has not won a music show because it doesn't have a physical album.
Yeah, so when you look at things the way they are, the system is so gameable at this point that popular music is no longer actually popular music. When I got into K-pop was actually popular. The reason why so many second gen performers show up on variety shows is because they are that much of a household name based on their second gen activities. That's why Picho's got a show. That's why Key's got a show. There's so many second gen performers that are regulars on shows that all of Korea watches because they were mega stars in second gen.
And it's the people that do something different that are the ones that are getting recognition.
Right. So, and it is Key. It is Taeyeon. It is Hicho. Sounds like it is SM. But I digress. But
we're just low-key SM stands. Like, I have to say, if I had to debut from any K-pop company, I think I would pick SM.
Yeah. I would pick SM in a heartbeat. I really, yeah. Now, if I had to join a K-pop label in order to make friends, I want to be on JYP.
Oh, for sure. Because JYP casts character over anything, it seems.
Yeah, they're like, we'll fire you if you find out that you're a bully or whatever else, kick rocks. But in terms of like, if I just was trying to have a long career, I want to be on SM.
Yeah.
Content is still signed to SM. If that don't tell you.
It what?
If that doesn't tell you, SM really believes in their people. Kong's has been on SM for forever. Boa has been on SM for forever. Also, rest in peace to Boa's brother. He died of cancer recently, and we hate to hear about that. Cancer can go fuck itself, honestly. But yeah, K-pop, definitely the atmosphere has changed. And even a label like SM that, if you asked me a few years ago, like, oh yeah, SM's the jam. I don't even know if I'd want to debut with SM today, because even the way that SM handles pop now, I swear we get a new NCT product every 2 months.
It's tiresome. And they're going to debut a new boy group soon, I've heard, which like, I'm already overwhelmed with the NCT stuff. But I also think that like, so many of our friends also love like everything about NCT that I just see it all retweeted all the time. And I'm like, do these people ever sleep? Do the NCT boys ever sleep? I'm tired of hearing about NCT and WayV.
Yeah. But you know what, Lucas? It is what it is.
You
can't be out here being reckless and think that you're not going to get caught when you literally have everything to lose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's too young and unestablished. Like I think he's too unestablished to be doing this.
Yeah, like go ahead.
If he was like Lay, I think maybe, but after he'd made his millions, I don't think Lucas has made his millions from SM yet.
Not even if you're Lay. Chris Wu just got caught up in a massive scandal. It's over for him.
Oh, but his is way worse than what Lucas's is.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, you don't get so big if you're a Chinese star that you can just all of a sudden throw caution to the wind and can afford to have written evidence of your being a terrible person.
Right.
And Lucas, like, if China decides that Lucas is a bad influence, he has no career anymore.
No career. SM will cut him like that if China decides not to keep him.
Yeah, because they can't promote him in Korea because Korea is very anti-Chinese idol. So, I mean, it's just, you can't win anymore. And, that's the other thing about second gen. You could still come back in second gen. You could have a bad moment or a bad album, and there was still an opportunity to continue to grow your career. Go ahead.
I think that's why 4 minutes to Spanmit always made me hit hard, because it was like kind of their first meh album release in terms of like sales. And it's like, but it's second gen. We'll just release another thing and we'll be fine, you know?
Yeah. Well, like Baek Ji-young, she is an OST singer. Like she has got super popular ballad songs related to K-dramas. Early on in her career, when she was a part of First Gen, she had a sex tape scandal. Her manager tried to blackmail her by videotaping them having sex and then put that videotape on the internet to ruin her career. And she managed to not only come back from a sex tape that like she was out there, like it caught her completely nude performing sex, but she not only came back, she became the go-to OST singer. And people could do that. If a K-pop girl today got caught up in a sex tape where she's riding dick and sucking dick, it's over for her. It's
her
over
and the group, period.
Yeah, just
destroyed.
When the one girl from the big hit girl group got caught blackmailing the actor, the entire group disbanded. People don't ever talk about the hidden flop girl group from Big Hit. But before BTS, there was a girl group on Big Hit. And one of the girls got caught trying to blackmail this huge actor. And they said, we won't even touch girls anymore.
I think that's why their new girl group has so many like already popular people in it. It's got a couple of Eyes One girls. It's got that other girl from Pledis that was on Produce 48. Like, I think it's because they want, in case something like that happens, they don't have to disband them. Or they can at least keep a couple on as soloists that would still have a solid fan base.
Yeah, but I mean, the environment now with K-pop makes it to where you just can't be brave, you can't be experimental, you just can't do a lot of things. And it's really sad because those experiments are what made K-pop what it eventually became. You know, you don't have a girl crush concept without 2NE1 being the experiment.
Right.
So I don't know. Sad days is all I can say. But it's coming for BL. That's how it relates to all of this, is that with BL, if the time comes where Korea sees BL as being too political, or it's sissifying our men, and our men need to stand tall in the face of this wave of feminism, pretty soon you won't even get the lame ass Korean BLs that we've been getting. In 2008, they had the actor who played the baker sharing 2 kisses with this French man?
Kisses, they were like almost naked cuddling up. It was very explicitly gay in a way that I was shocked. I was like, 2008 Korea? We're not getting this in 2021 Korea.
Right. And so you have that. More than 10 years ago, it's now been almost 13, 14 years ago?
Yeah.
And today would not touch with a 10-foot pole.
No.
You know, and we're supposed to be getting more progressive, but the opposite is happening, it seems, in Asian culture right now. It is getting more and more regressive. And it's just
very sad to see.
It's sad to see, it's scary to watch, and it's disappointing. And that's why I can't ever be mad at Red Velvet. Red Velvet came back recently with Queendom, and a lot of people were kind of lackluster on the album. I enjoy it. But one thing I really appreciate is that it is more than obvious that Queendom was meant to be a kind of queer anthem. Like when you read the lyrics, it is very clear that is what it's about. From all the references to rainbows and being yourself, and
every Pride parade across the world is going to have Queendom playing in it from now on.
Yeah, and then
why would you not?
Yeah, the whole choreography of putting the crown on, like it is exactly what it is. But you know, that's a bold move to make when so many people hate Irene currently. And so many people have been hating Yeri for so long. It's like they said, you know what? We can't win for losing, So let us embrace our core audience and let's just go ahead and do this thing. And that's what they chose to do. And I find it to be a very brave act from a group that has a lot to lose.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. And also thank you for being on board, SM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what they'll do next with Red Velvet.
I don't know.
Hopefully Velvet. Oh, please, a Velvet album.
I don't know. I mean, push in and not push in and pull in. I think it's push in and pull in. Is that the song on the album? I thought that was a kind of velvety song. It felt very
the last two songs were Velvet.
Yeah.
But I would like more.
Yeah. They're like the perfect Velvet part 2.
I'm still chasing Kingdom Come 2. Still chasing for it.
Yeah, I would like the Stereotype to get back in the studio with Red Velvet. Because I mean, Kingdom Come, Bad Boy, the Stereotypes. They know what to do with a girl group.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're almost done. I know I usually do my Instagrams, and I didn't know if I was going to have Instagrams for you guys because of it being a Korean drama, but I actually do. So let's start with probably the most obvious Instagram that you guys want to hear about, and that's Yoo Ah-In, because he has 2 million followers on Instagram. Million with an N. So his Instagram is Hongsick. HONGSICK. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, he is available. Then the lead actor who played the boss, he has got an Instagram as well. His Instagram is _JUJIHOON. So basically his name, _Choi Jiho. If you want to follow him. The actor that played the baker, he has got an Instagram, and he actually has more followers than the boss, which is surprising because he's not as big an actor. The boss was like the lead in Kingdom on Netflix, but he's had some drug controversies, so he does not have as many followers on Instagram anymore. But the baker has got 980,000 followers on Instagram. Pretty surprising. His Instagram is Jaewok Kim. So it's JAEUCK KIM. Jaewok Kim. And I tried to find an Instagram for the bodyguard, but he kind of has been inactive for like around 5 years. So I could not find an Instagram for him. I couldn't find really even any work that he's done in the last 10 years that's been like visible. Really? But there is an Instagram for the Bastard. So if you're interested in the French Bastard, he does have an Instagram. It's only got 4,000 followers, but it's Andy Guillet. I don't speak French, guys. His name is Andy, Andy, and then if I was pronouncing this in English, it'd be Gillet, Gillet, but I think it's Guillet. So Andy Gillet on Instagram. So yeah, those are the Instagrams of the day. Do we have a manga of the day? Or do you have a manhwa, an anime?
I do not, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I'm gonna share some stuff with you guys. They're not anime or manga, but they're things I picked up at the Tattered Covered Bookstore in Denver. Hope y'all got a good glimpse of my ass. Okay, so I bought books at the Tattered Covered Bookstore. I like bookstores. My family loves bookstores. It is the one place that whenever my family visits, I can guarantee they want to go see. So if you are in Colorado and you're not super familiar with Denver, but you're looking for a place to go, there is a bookstore in Denver called the Tattered Cover. It's actually a chain. They're all over Denver, but the store that I recommend is the one on Colfax Avenue. It's got an upstairs and it's got a downstairs, which I just discovered today. And it is filled to the gills with all kinds of books. But I bought these 3 books here, and I wanted to talk about them very briefly today because I think they're interesting. So this first one is called Nubia Real One, and it's a graphic novel by DC. It's graphic novels for young adults, and it's about a young Black woman. She's a teenager that has super strength. and she's had super strength since the day she was born. But she's been told over and over again to kind of lessen her strength because it freaks people out and it scares them. Until one day she's forced to use her strength to protect her best friend. And then all of a sudden she realizes that she is a superhero. And that's kind of the stories about her kind of transformation and awareness of self. So this is a fun one, and it's got some really interesting shadow artwork stuff going on here. So I know that we normally talk about manga, and this is the only thing I have here that's illustrated, so I thought I'd share it with you guys if you want to take a look. But all of the character drawings are inspired by real life people, so you have a lot of different hair textures and facial features going on here, which I really appreciate. The next book I have here is La Bizona, and it has a really beautiful cover, so that's the reason why I first picked it up. Isn't it gorgeous?
I love that. Yeah, that's really pretty.
Yeah. So this is a story about a girl who is an Argentinian immigrant to America, and her family's about to be deported. And as she's going through this deportation crisis, she finds out a little bit more about her heritage. And one of the things in her heritage being she is the seventh daughter of like the seventh son, something like that. So she's actually a bruja, which is a witch. And there's a whole secondary world that becomes open to her as she's on the brink of this crisis. And so this has magical realism going on, which is always a genre I really appreciate. And then the last book I have here is called Wicked Fox. And I picked this up because I don't know a lot about Korean mythology, but I've always been aware of the mythology surrounding the Gumiho, or the nine-tailed fox. And this is a story about a girl who discovers, or who is having to deal with the fact that she is a Gumiho, and she's trying to like function with the fact that she has to consume men's hearts in order to survive, but she doesn't want to do that. So this is called Wicked Fox, and this is the cover here. And it says it is inspired by both K-dramas and Korean folklore. And since I don't know that much about Korean folklore, I thought I would go ahead and read a book regarding that. And this is a part of a duo. So there's the Wicked Fox, and then there's another Wicked story that's a companion to this one, which I didn't pick up because it was in hardcover and this one was in paperback, and I'm trying to lean towards paperbacks right now. So those are the books that I picked up, and these were all in the young adult section because even though I am a grown-ass woman books are boring as shit and usually very sad. So this is what I picked up.
You have got to let me know how all those go, but especially Lobizola. That one sounded really good.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. Because I know when this is going to be filming and what's coming up, I would like everyone, if you can, to do a couple of favors for us. We've decided that the next show that we're going to watch is going to be Light on Me, which is a Korean BL that can be found on Viki. But we did have a discussion about the fact that we're having a really hard time picking properties for us to watch because we don't want to hate watch shows. It's never our intention to hate watch unless it's related to something that we love. So we're asking for recommendations from you guys in the comment sections of like really good BL properties. We're not asking for them to be specific to Korea, Thailand, or whatever. We've talked about doing a season of Scum, but we're asking for recommendations for good BL properties that we could talk about on the show that are accessible to the people who watch us, and that we can actually enjoy reviewing, because I think that you guys would like us to be happy. I hope you would. So please don't send us things to hate watch. Send us things that you really like and that you want us to share with others to pass on the word, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to pass on the word about really good properties. And also, because we won't see you guys again until after this happens, please everybody wish Mason the best birthday ever, because he is our birthday boy. And also, we just really appreciate everything he's done in order to make this show possible. The amount of work that he puts into this is just a lot. And I would never have thought to do this if he didn't invite me along for the ride. And he's basically transformed his channel into our show channel. And that was a really big sacrifice on his part. So I appreciate him very much, along with just what you've given me in terms of making this show a thing. You are one of my best friends, and I am eternally grateful that K-pop brought us together and that we've managed to be friends for as long as we have been. I don't think I've ever known anyone in my life who is as interesting as you are, who has such a wealth and depth of knowledge about so many random things and makes my randomness feel welcomed. I primarily enjoy being your friend because the way you make me feel, but also I feel like in a lot of ways, you are the best version of myself if I could recreate myself. And it brings me immense pleasure to watch you succeed, to go from being, a staff artist to being a storyboard artist. I love following your career and how it continues to grow all the time. I love to see the way that you've defeated these crises that have happened over the course of your academic career, and you've still come out on the other side with the career you wanted. Even when other people didn't see the vision, you managed to believe in the vision for yourself. You faked it until you made it, and you are making it. And I am super proud of you. And so, not just for you, but for anyone else watching, Mason is living proof that sometimes it can get really bad. Sometimes you can get really down, but you have to continue to believe in yourself. And if you continue to believe in yourself, you could one day be in your own apartment smoking weed on live and ranting about K-pop. And I think that's the best outcome anyone could have.
Not the call out. If you don't know, every now and then I'll go live and it's just me smoking a joint talking about K-pop. Like, that's literally it. It's nothing.
But you worked very hard to be able to get to that place. And I adore you. I really and truly adore you. So happiest of birthdays coming up. And thank you all for being a part of our friendship. You really are getting an inside peek at what it's like. Me giving out compliments, him being embarrassed. That's the way this thing goes.
I'm glad that because I'm recording on my phone that they can't see my screen unless I'm talking. Because I'm a tomato. Like, no, this is literally like just like a recording of like a normal conversation we would have if we called on the phone. Yeah. That was so nice of you, Sam. I don't know what to say, except for that I'm very thankful to have you in my life as well. That was very nice. As you can tell, compliments make me uncomfortable.
So leave compliments in the comments.
Yeah, our next show will be that Korean show. I forgot its name.
Light on Me.
Light on Me. And then after that, let us know. Let us know. All right, everyone. We'll see you later. Bye.